What up? Welcome back to another food and travel vlog. This time we're going to Turkey. I got to spend 10 days in Istanbul and Cappadocia with my family. We had been planning this trip for a while, so you could say that we had done our fair share of research in what to do and where to eat. This was definitely not a relaxing holiday. We did so much, we covered so much ground, we ate so much. There was definitely some ups and downs, but in the end, these are always the kind of holidays that are the most memorable. So my brother is a crazy cat lady, and we had to stop in every corner to take pictures of cats. Trip was split in three. For the first part of the trip, we stayed in the Galata neighborhood of Istanbul. This is like the hip and trendy area, so there are many hip and trendy restaurants to pick from. Okay, but let's get to the food. Our first dinner was at Karakoy Lokantasi. This restaurant is very nice, very trendy for Istanbul standards. They are famous for their octopus. We only ordered 2, and we ended up having to order 3 more dishes because it was honestly that good.
This is the best moment of my life. Honestly, this octopus is like the full circle of...
As I said, we are a foodie family, so nothing causes us this euphoria as much as a perfectly cooked octopus. So I really had to include these videos into this vlog so you can see the excitement.
Oh my god.
The next day, we had breakfast at Velvet Cafe, which is literally 1 block away from the Galata Tower. It's this very cute grandma's living room style breakfast spot. We ordered 1 Turkish breakfast for the table and an assortment of Turkish omelets. The traditional Turkish breakfast is a super fun thing to order because you get a bunch of tiny little dishes and you can just share it with everyone on the table. However, I would say that it's kind of hit or miss in these very touristy streets because sometimes they give you a bunch of tiny little plates with olives and cheese and it seems like it's a lot of food, but you'll definitely leave hungry. So I would definitely do my research if I was you. We spent the rest of the day walking around and getting to know the neighborhood. This area is known for its second-hand and vintage shops, so if you're a thrifter like me, you will not get bored and this will be your favorite neighborhood. After spending all day walking in and out of these cute little shops, we were starting to get hungry and thirsty, so we stopped at this juice stand, got some freshly squeezed orange juice, which you can find almost on every corner, mostly orange and pomegranate juice. It had been a whole 2 hours since we ate anything, so we had to stop and get a little snack. One of the million reasons why Istanbul is such an incredible city is because it's the only city in the world that's divided by 2 continents. I had only visited the European side, so we took a ferry to visit the Asian side. The whole experience of getting on a 45-minute ferry ride to cross the Bosphorus to get to a different continent but still be in the same city is a pretty crazy and unique experience if you ask me.
Senden vazgeçmeyecek o içinde aşkın hiç bitmeyecek eğer istersen sonsuza dek sürecek inan bana hep seni sevecek gönlüm senden.
I had already heard that Kadıköy was the up-and-coming hipster neighborhood in Istanbul, but I did not expect this. You can very much compare it to Kreuzberg in Berlin and even Williamsburg in New York City. It is Istanbul's hipster central, and with that come a lot of very trendy cocktail bars. There's probably a tattoo shop on every single street, a lot of vintage and secondhand stores, and overall just a very young vibe. I really regretted only allocating 1 afternoon to exploring this region. Next time I come to Istanbul, I really hope to spend a couple of nights just so I can really get to know the area. After a few hours of bar hopping, we started to get pretty hungry, so we walked over to the restaurant area. We really wanted to try Siya, which is that Turkish restaurant that is featured in Chef's Table, but we didn't know if it was going to be a tourist trap or if it would actually be all of the hype. A local friend told us that it was really, really delicious, so we went for it, and it did not disappoint. It was actually a very local vibe. We didn't see that many tourists there, and I have to say it was probably the most affordable meal we had in our entire time in Istanbul. So definitely, definitely recommend it if you're on the Asian side. We had a very early morning the next day because we had to catch a plane to Cappadocia. Good morning.
Good morning.
So for an ideal itinerary to go to Cappadocia, we would be making this trip towards the end of the week, just so that we could reduce the number of trips to the airport. But this time it just didn't work out with the available flights. But that's just a tip for you guys if you plan this in the future. A trip to Cappadocia definitely takes a lot of planning. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about doing this. Of course, you can go with an agency. They will take care of everything, transportation, activities, because there is a lot to see. So it requires a lot of research. But if you're someone who enjoys the challenge of travel planning and the research side of it, you're definitely going to want to rent a car. That is absolutely the best way. But if you rent a car and you don't know where to go, then you're kind of wasting your time and money because the area is very vast. There's a lot of different cities, and all of the sites to see are a bit spread out, so you need to know where to go. So definitely invest those hours of research. And side note, if you're not into doing all of that work, I'm soon going to be launching a travel company that specializes specifically on itinerary development and planning. So check out my description for more information. If that is a service that you think you would like in the future, and if you enjoy the way that I organize my trips, then we can definitely work together. Balcony, prayer hour. And we are connected with our neighbors. Hi, boo boo. Are you in a cave? Oh my god. So as I said, the area known as Cappadocia is made up of many different little towns. We stayed in Kavusin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And for our first meal, we went to this restaurant that was very close to our hotel, and it ended up being the best food that we had on the 3 days that we were there. The signature dish that you will find at almost every single restaurant is kebab cooked in these clay jars. They are cooked for 5 hours on direct fire in these jars, and then they always ask the customer to open them up like this. So that's also part of the experience. Oh my god, that looks amazing.
5 hours. Slow cook.
Wow. Yeah, baby. Lamb neck, meatballs stuffed with cheese and spinach, and beef
5 hour
kebab.
pot kebab.
After dinner, we drove to Uchisar, which is a town nearby, which is famous for this one particular rock formation, which is called Uchisar Castle. In Byzantine times, more than 1,000 years ago, people used to actually inhabit these rock formations, which is why there is a lot of chambers. Today, you can still go into them, but they're purely for touristic purposes. This is one of the main attractions, so if you go in high season, just a warning, it's probably going to be pretty packed. Everybody's trying to catch the sunset. After a whole week of eating delicious Turkish food, we did need a break, so we opted for a Chinese dinner. Good morning. We just woke up our first morning in Cappadocia, and our hotel has this beautiful breakfast, and we're just overwhelmed with this beauty. Say hi. Love Valley is another landscape that is very unique to Cappadocia and that got its name because of the phallic-shaped structures, which are also known as fairy chimneys. Everywhere you look here, it's like an outdoor museum with rocks making all sorts of crazy shapes of different animals. We made a quick stop at a cafe that was proud to display that it was visited by Nicolas Cage because some of our soldiers fell ill with the travel bug, so we had to take a quick break to refuel, nothing that a clean toilet and mashed potatoes can't fix. So soon enough, they were back on their feet and we went on to our next destination. The region is filled with a number of really beautiful churches that were carved into the rocks. We were trying to find this one particular church that's very famous. Because a lot of these churches look very similar from the outside, we accidentally ended up at a totally different space that was very random, and the guard just handed us some flashlights, so we went into exploring all of the different crevices that were around the structure. It was a pretty funny accident. We actually had a really good time. We were incredibly dusty from all of the underground exploration that we did, but we didn't have time to go change before catching the sunset at Red Valley because we heard it gets pretty crowded. It is such a beautiful view. Definitely add that to the itinerary. We had a quick dinner and went straight to bed because we had to wake up for the sunrise in time to see the hot air balloons. The hot air balloons are the main attraction in Cappadocia, and it's really what drives the thousands and thousands of tourists every single year. We decided not to take the balloon rides, mostly because of our budget, and we also just didn't plan ahead. If you don't plan ahead, you're gonna end up paying probably twice the price in person. This can get pretty high. And to be honest, large part of me just didn't really feel like that needed to be the experience. We still woke up very early to go see the balloons take off, and it was such an incredible experience. It was so peaceful. I had never seen this before. I don't know what it is about watching them fly, but it just transmits you with so much peace. I swear the only thing that I could think about in the moment was, this is pure magic. Also, everybody raves about the view from the valley when they're all up already in the air, but I think the best view is when they're still taking off, so the sooner you can get out there, the better. We had our last meal in Cappadocia, and then we were off to the airport for our last 2 days in Istanbul before the end of the holiday. Istanbul is an insanely large city, geographically speaking. I mean, it covers 2 different continents. So it's super important when planning the itinerary to separate days into different parts of the city. We left Sultanahmet, which is the old city, until the very end. This is where you have Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, the Old Bazaar. So there is endless amount of things to keep you entertained. We were so exhausted from so many days of travel that we decided to take it very easy on these last 2 days. So we kind of just ate some more amazing food and walked around the city. Leaving the best for last. What can I say about the Grand Bazaar? I'm pretty sure it is a definition of a nightmare for a lot of people, but it's kind of my definition of heaven.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Nissan. And you?
Ana Cristina, you have beautiful eyes.
Can I give you one?
Either you know how to haggle or you don't, and I happen to have a PhD in haggling thank you to my aunties in Mexico. So most likely, if you do not have training, you will get extremely ripped off. However, prices are still significantly lower than they are probably where you come from, And once you enter the bazaar, everything's just so seductive. All of the spices, the textiles, the candles, the soaps. It's kind of impossible not to want to buy anything. Personally, I go a little bit crazy over the spices. That is my weak point. Oh, and of course, also the jewelry. You will go absolutely crazy over the jewelry. Not just gold, but all kinds of really amazing and original designs. Leaving the bazaar for the very last day is a great strategy to save some money because you probably don't even have space in your suitcase anyway. And that's it. That's how we wrapped up this 10-day trip to Istanbul and Cappadocia. You will always leave Istanbul feeling like there's so much you didn't see because it's true. There's so much you didn't see. It's an endless, endless city and more so an endless country. Lucky for me, I'm only an hour and a half flight away and this is far from the last time that I visit.